Welcome back, everybody. So I want to do a video about my 9.0 wish list. So these are the things that I hope to see at BlizzCon, at least some sort of announcement for, or in the coming months up into its launch. These are things that aren't necessarily plausible, or maybe even just, like they're the crazy ones. I'm not going to say that this is what I realistically want. This is like everything. This is what I want in an expansion. So is it going to be realistic? Absolutely not, but hopefully it'll be fun. Let's start with just overall customization, your character's customization. So for the Recruit a Friend, they introduced a new backpack, a bonus item that you can get for, well, recruiting a friend. And I think that this is a step in the right direction towards a form of customization that may change the game forever. So I'm hoping that cloaks start coming with appearances. Perhaps, you know how your weapons have a enchant slot that you can make your weapon look like an appearance of a past enchant. So, for example, Colossus or anything along those lines. What I would like to see is a new cosmetics for classes that go in your your cloak slot. This means if you're an arms warrior, you can still walk around with a shield on your back at all times. I think that this would look really cool, especially if people decided to go with more Viking themed stuff, or even still, like, imagine being able to, like, yeah, I want to put this customized shield on my back. So then you can also still show off a shield while still having a two-hander. Totems, for example, would go for shamans. I think that they can make some really cool looking totems. Perhaps they can also loosen the race restrictions, so you could have like a nice... The Taurans sort of have this already with their heritage armor, so I think that they could easily do this. For example, you can get an ammo bag for hunters or quivers, or some form of relic for druids, and yes, it would be showable in all forms. Or perhaps a really cool book or for warlocks or paladins, and it wouldn't necessarily have to go on the back. Maybe something they could just put on their person. I'd also like to see more flails in the game, two-handed flails, and also tattoos. I would love to see make an aggressive push. I really like the idea of Blizzard being able to say, like, okay, you want to hide your shoulder pads, that's fine. You want to hide your helmet, that's fine. What if I want to hide my chest and show off tattoos? I think that would be awesome. Then you could just go with that more berserker-like fantasy. I'd also like to see more customization for existing races. However, I don't believe that this will be Blizzard's priority. Maybe perhaps it's the allied races is what they're pushing for. Because, with the exception of Zandalar and Kul Tiran, I believe that all of these things should just be existing on our current races. I don't believe that they should have made allied races. For example, Grey Draenei, they could have put on regular Draenei. The one thing I did like was the Magar Orcs, but Dwarves didn't get any good customization. They just got Dark Iron, even though Blizzard could have easily, lore-wise, have made you go Wildhammer. But perhaps they will put those on the existing races. I would like to see that. I think we're going to see new allied races. I would like to see 4 at launch. So perhaps Vrykul and Ogres. Again, this is a wish list. It's not going to happen. Maybe the Drowned. So those would be the octopus-looking undead models, and the Flightless for Worgen, and that would be like Rathion's sort of experimented dragon forms. I did mention this before in a Volpera video when I talked about if the Horde get Volpera, can the Alliance get some form of dragon? I'd like them to go a little bit more back towards basics, so I want them to encourage guild play. I don't know exactly how they can do this, but I believe that guilds need to be held above everything else in the game. Maybe the Scrapper doesn't return in the next expansion. If you do things with the guild, though, you would get a plundered satchel, which would give you sort of the equivalent of a scrapped item for your current profession. This would allow you to do more as a guild, because you wouldn't have to go out farming in the world. You could help your guild and still get something for it. I believe that looking for raid and looking for group should be massively discouraged. I don't think that looking for raids should be a catch-up mechanic. I think that they should focus on their new content and allow people to catch up that way. Again, I believe that looking for raids should literally just be for people who want to see the raid. That is it. World of Warcraft is removing the feeling of the MMO or the RPG. As I said before, with looking for raid and looking for group. everything seems to be just all about you and not so much about playing with a team. Classic has really opened my eyes to this, and even though a lot of it's for a selfish purpose, and perhaps people's perception of Classic is just simply different than retail, I would love to see more elements of parties brought in. While it'll be incredibly hard to bring back that feeling, and a lot of people, you have to remember too, the reason the game changed the way it did is because people kept asking for these changes. Some people, well, I should say, some of the things people asked for, even just some weird things, but I just really hope that they can bring back the sense of community that we had, the sense of needing to go out into the world with people, the sense of needing to go with your guild and do stuff with your guild. Because no matter how much it feels I try to do stuff with my guild, they're always just in a random group. They're always just pugging raids. They're not doing raid as a guild. I found that at least half the raid group that we put together, half of them were like, well, I already did the raid, but I'll come if the guild needs me. I don't like that feeling. Okay, I want people who want to do stuff with the guild. And I know you can't force people to, but this is an MMORPG. They really need to make people feel like, okay, you either play with other people or you can't play. It's an MMORPG. It's not Call of Duty. You can't just queue into a match, do it, and then be done. You need to be a sense of a community. You need to be in a community. I'd also like to see not just another 10 levels. There have been talks about a sort of Shadowlands. Well, I shouldn't say there have been talks. There have been leaks of it. And I believe that the next expansion will be a soft reset. I think it'd be a lot more interesting to explore a much more expansive, vast world, other than just another, here's another 3 zones to explore. And honestly, I feel that BFA has been the smallest expansion simply because the questing area was 3 zones instead of 6 or 5 and plus Suramar. Is it Stormheim, High Mountain? Yeah. So I'm hoping for that. Not just another 10 level expansion. I want them to shake it up a little bit. I also would like to see less mounts. However, I would like to see more impactful ones. I would like to see more things along the lines of, hey, look, you found this pet. Take this pet with you. Raise the pet to 25. Oh, your pet grew up. Here's a mount. I'd like to see more elements of that brought into the game versus just, here's 36 or 63 mounts in a patch? I know it's a massive difference between the two numbers. But anyway, here's a bunch of mounts in a patch, and most of them are recolors. This isn't a Facebook game, Blizzard. Make the mounts more impactful. We can only ride one at a time. We don't need 700 mounts. Please, just make impactful ones. Make cooler ones. I'd like to see challenge mode returned. I love challenge mode in... I didn't do it in Mob. I only did one dungeon in Mob. I only had time to do... Well, I shouldn't say I had time. I had plenty of time. I only successfully completed a couple in WoD. But that was because I moved twice throughout the ending of Warlords of Draenor, so I didn't get to finish the rest of them. But there's one thing I always kick myself in the butt, and that is completing the challenge modes. That is getting the gear, getting the weapons for transmogrification. These types of things need to be brought back, okay? Not only does it encourage a tight-knit group, it encourages people to push themselves. They can still do challenge mode and keep their Mythic Plus, because the only reason they keep Mythic Plus is for monetization. Mythic Plus Invitationals, anybody? But I'd really like to see challenge modes returned. I think it was much more fun than Mythic Plus. And yeah, you could say, oh, it doesn't have the replayability. It's not repeatable like Mythic Plus is. That's not necessarily a bad thing. Because if they make good systems, if they put good systems in the game, not everything has to be repeatable. Look at the Mage Tower. The Mage Tower encouraged you to level like every alt you could. Get every alt there to get that appearance. Challenge mode could do the exact same. Even if you can only learn what your character can use from the challenge modes, then there you go. It gives you another reason to level alt. It gives you another reason to get that alt in the challenge modes and to complete them. It also encourages, again, more people as a guild to do stuff. It encourages a lot more. Now, speaking of the Mage Tower, I believe that Mage Tower should make a comeback. I think that there was the first leak that I read about where the Mage Tower made a comeback, and like there was like dragon forms for people. So instead, you would like Necrolords and like Warlocks got something really cool cosmetically. Druids could shapeshift into like these weird dragon things. I would love that. I have a soft spot for dragons though, however. But yeah, I believe that Mage Tower should make a comeback. I remember Blizzard speaking like, we only want Mage Tower to come back if it makes sense lore-wise. And in the one expansion where it was Horde versus Alliance, they never thought to make a Horde counterpart to your Alliance character or Alliance counterpart to your Horde character. Never dawned on them to do that. I just think that they ran out of time making Island Expeditions, which, you know, Island Expeditions, am I right? Or Warfronts, which is Warfronts, am I right? Basically, BFA failed on a lot of levels. Classic was a huge eye-opener for them, and I don't think we'll see anything like Island Expeditions or especially Warfronts make a comeback anytime soon. We need less queuable stuff. We need more stuff we can do as a team, as a guild, as a server. Less out looking for raid, less looking for group. That's the push they should make. Now, Blizzard's always done something. In Classic WoW, you know, you had all these races, you had all this stuff, right? Burning Crusade, you got new race. Wrath of Lich King, you got a new class. Cataclysm, you got new races and race combinations. Mists of Pandaria, you got a new class. Warlords of Draenor, you got race updates and new race combinations, I believe. Legion, you got a new class. BFA, we got new races, and I believe apologies on the Warlords of Draenor race combination. I don't believe Gnome Hunters were added until the end of Legion. But anyway, BFA added new allied races. So that means it is time, if they go by the system, it is time for another class. I hope it's not Tinkers. I don't like Tinkers. I don't find Tinkers interesting. I know a lot of people do, but I personally don't find them, so they are not on my wish list. They are on my please don't, Blizzard, don't put these in the game. I would like to see either, and these are just my 3 ideas. I would like to see the Drowned Knight. I mentioned the Drowned earlier, but imagine if they didn't do that race. What if it was its own class? So it was these knights that freed themselves of N'Zoth's plan. Perhaps they were captured by Wrathion and forced to, to free themselves of N'Zoth's corruption, but they kept their appearance. So you have these Drowned Knights, and they're imbued with this void energy. So you would have tank, range DPS, and healing as your 3 specs. And I know it would be hard to do another healer that is sort of water-based, but I think like void-based would be a little bit better to go. I know they're called the Drowned. Perhaps like the mage or the ranged class, or the ranged part of them, kind of get this more aquatic feel to them. But I would love to see the big tentacle faces on a Tauren, on a Worgen, on a Draenei. I would love, well, I shouldn't say Draenei because they already have tentacles, but it'd be cool to see that head integrated into like corrupting these races and seeing them be put to good use. I would love to see just the fantasy of a big knight with tentacles and like big glowing eyes tanking my dungeons. I would love that. I would re-roll one of those. But again, that's my wish list. Next would be the Dragon Seer. These are a faction of Wrathion's Black Talon squad, and they are people who are dragons that freed themselves. So I guess you could say that they're the Warden-looking ones. Then you could pick perhaps Obsidian for tanking. You could pick Bronze for range DPS, and you could pick, of course, Green for healing. Again, that would kind of be like Druid healing, but a little bit different. They can easily do different things with them. I should say blue instead of orange for range DPS, but that can go either way. See, with Bronze, you could do some kind of time travel stuff. Like your defensive would be you literally rewind time and where you were walking. I think that'd be pretty cool. It would be annoying. Yes, it'd be especially annoying to fight against. Still think it'd be really cool, even if it was only a PvE talent. The Dragon Seer could be something that would change the game forever. So would the Drowned Knight. And the last one is a little bit more basic, called the Rune Seer. And this would be a tank or ranged DPS class, or simply a healing and ranged DPS class. They would basically just use runes, the power of runes, to empower themselves. And they'd be sort of like a mage, and that's the issue with them. But they can do things to simply make them different. They do need a new ranged class in the game. I would love to see any of these. Which takes me to my last point in its reworks of classes. I want to see talents reworked a little bit. I want to see talents become more impactful. I don't want to see a new artifact weapon. Stop, Blizzard. Just put that kind of stuff in talents. Just give us a new talent tree. Put the stuff in there. Leave it. Just stop. You don't need to keep reinventing the wheel. And I know that kind of reverting the talents a little bit would be kind of reinventing the wheel, but it'd be like putting the old wheel with improvements back on your car. But I hope that there is not a new artifact weapon or artifact anything. Just no more of that. We don't need any more silly gimmicks. We just need good gameplay. We need MMORPG elements. That's it. Okay, so I may have lied to all of your faces. I have one last thing to put on my wish list, and that is, it's a simple one. I want the return of class sets. Blizzard, the reasoning for making plate only, mail only, leather only, cloth only is simply because, well, they wanted to do less work. And that shows. It shows that they wanted to do less work. I mean, these sets have been awful. Absolutely awful. The only one that I liked was the plate set for Mythic Battle for Atal Tsar. Nope, Tsar Allure. So many names. This has been a really weird expansion for gear sets, and that's the only one that I liked. It seems like Blizzard's their normal staff was cut. They were put on other projects, perhaps Classic ate into it, and that's why BFA didn't end up as well. But it could be any number of things. All I know is that those poor people tried their best, and they're overworked, underpaid. So I don't mean to rag on them too much. I don't want to be too toxic towards them. But I just think that the sets look bad, incredibly bad. And I really like the fantasy of being a warlock set, a mage set, a priest set. Because you cannot get 3 fantasies into one for a raid. You can't. It doesn't work. Even the Mythic Plate set that I spoke of earlier, I think only looks good on a warrior. I don't like the druid one at all. I'm thinking druid, but it's leather. I don't like any male sets in game really. But that's the last thing I suppose is just give us our class sets back. Let me feel like a druid. Let me feel like a warrior. Those were my ideas. That's my wish list, guys. I've been Nikolai. Thank you very much for watching, and let me know what you want. Let me know what you want to see, what your wish list is. Does anything sound good to you? Does anything sound disappointing to you? Let me know in the comments below, and I will see you guys later. Take care and have a good day.